"You'll never be good enough for this family." The words hung in the air of the pristine dining room, spoken not in anger, but with the calm certainty of someone stating an obvious fact. My mother-in-law, Eleanor, dabbed her lips with a monogrammed napkin while my sister-in-law, Catherine, nodded in silent agreement. My husband David sat beside me, suddenly fascinated by the pattern on his dinner plate, his silence speaking volumes. That Sunday dinner marked the moment I stopped trying to belong. After 3 years of marriage and countless attempts to win their approval, I finally understood that I wasn't fighting a battle. I was trapped in a war I could never win. What I didn't know then was that this realization would set me on a path to not only save myself, but also help countless other women navigate the complex dynamics of toxic in-law relationships. When I first met David at a colleague's wedding in 2018, he seemed perfect. Successful, kind, and genuinely interested in my work as a clinical psychologist. During our whirlwind courtship, he spoke of his family with such warmth that I imagined being embraced by them. Finally having the large, close-knit family I dreamed of since losing my parents in college. The first warning sign came during our engagement dinner. Eleanor, a distinguished woman with impeccably coiffed silver hair and a society smile that never quite reached her eyes, raised her crystal wine glass and announced, "Welcome to the Stevens family, Sarah. We'll make sure you learn to do things our way." The table laughed, but there was an edge to her voice that made me unconsciously grip David's hand tighter. Catherine, 2 years younger than David and still living at home at 32, didn't even attempt to hide her disdain. "Let's hope you're a quick learner," she said, her smile sharp as a blade. The last girlfriend didn't quite make the cut. I should have recognized these as red flags. But I was too in love with David and too invested in the idea of belonging to a family again to see the truth. Instead, I doubled down on my efforts to fit in, to prove myself worthy of their acceptance. The problems began in earnest after our wedding. Eleanor and Catherine had orchestrated every detail of the ceremony and reception, overruling my preferences with comments like, "That's not how we do things," or "Trust us, dear, we know best." David assured me it was easier to go along with their wishes, and I, still hoping to win their approval, acquiesced. But their control didn't stop with the wedding. Eleanor had opinions about everything: how we decorated our home, what we ate, how we spent our weekends. She had a key to our house and would frequently drop by to rearrange our furniture or replace items she deemed unsuitable. Catherine was her faithful lieutenant, always ready with a cutting remark or a reminder of family traditions I was failing to uphold. The dynamic was subtle but relentless. They never openly criticized me, but their disapproval was constant and crushing. Everything I did was wrong. My cooking wasn't up to Stephen's standards. My career was too ambitious for a proper wife. Even my Christmas presents were thoughtful attempts that missed the mark. David's response to all this was perhaps the most painful part. He would acknowledge the problems in private, but never stand up to his mother or sister in the moment. "They mean well," he would say, or "That's just how they are." His conflict avoidance left me isolated, fighting a battle on my own while he tried to maintain peace by pleasing everyone. The situation reached a crisis point during my first pregnancy. What should have been a joyous time became a battlefield. Eleanor and Catherine appointed themselves as pregnancy experts, questioning every decision I made about my own body and child. They showed up uninvited to my doctor's appointments, criticized my choice to continue working, and began planning a nursery in their house because obviously the baby would spend most of its time with them. When I developed gestational diabetes, they blamed my poor lifestyle choices, despite my doctor's assurance that it was not my fault. The final straw came when they organized a baby shower without consulting me, invited all their society friends but none of mine, and announced their plans to move in with us for the first 3 months after the birth to show me how to be a proper mother. That night, I sat David down for the conversation that would change everything. "I need you to choose," I said, my hand protectively over my growing belly. "Either you set clear boundaries with your family, or I'll need to set them myself. And you might not like what that looks like." It was the first time I'd given him an ultimatum, and his response would determine not just the future of our marriage, but the course of my entire life. David's initial reaction was defensive, but as we talked through the night, something shifted. Perhaps it was the pregnancy making everything more real, or maybe he finally understood the toll this situation was taking on me. Whatever the reason, he agreed to couples therapy. Our therapist, Dr. Martinez, helped us understand the dynamics at play. She explained concepts like emotional incest, the unhealthy emotional dependence Eleanor had on David, and triangulation, how Catherine was used to maintain the dysfunctional family system. Most importantly, she helped David see how his passive role was actually enabling the toxic behavior. The next few months were challenging as we implemented boundaries. We changed the locks on our house. We limited family visits to scheduled times. We made decisions about our baby without consulting Eleanor or Catherine. The backlash was intense. Tears, guilt trips, accusations of tearing the family apart, and attempts to turn extended family members against us. But something unexpected happened too. As we stood firm in our boundaries, other women in the extended family began reaching out to me privately. Cousins, wives, distant relatives, even family friends shared similar stories of struggling with Eleanor's control and Catherine's cruelty. I wasn't alone, I was just the first to speak up. This realization led me to create what would eventually become In-Law Boundaries, a support group and educational platform for women dealing with toxic family dynamics. Using my background in clinical psychology and my personal experience, I developed resources and strategies to help others navigate these challenging relationships. What started as a small support group in my living room grew into a nationwide network. We now offer weekly support meetings, both in person and virtual, educational workshops on setting healthy boundaries, individual and couples counseling referrals, legal resources for extreme cases, online forums for sharing experiences and advice. The work has been transformative, not just for the women we help, but for me personally. Every story shared in our groups helps me better understand my own journey. Every success gives me hope for positive change. 5 years have passed since that confrontational Sunday dinner. David and I have 2 children now, and our marriage is stronger for having weathered the storm together. Eleanor and Catherine are still in our lives, but on our terms. They've learned that access to our family is a privilege, not a right, and that privilege can be revoked if they don't respect our boundaries. The journey hasn't been easy. There are still difficult moments, especially around holidays and family events, but we've developed tools and strategies to maintain our peace. 1. Clear communication. We discuss everything as a couple first and present a united front to family. 2. Firm boundaries. We have specific rules about visits, phone calls, and involvement in our children's lives. 3. Consequences. When boundaries are violated, we enforce predetermined consequences consistently. 4. Support system. We maintain connections with friends and supportive family members who understand our situation. 5. Professional help. We continue with occasional therapy sessions to maintain our progress and address new challenges as they arise. Through my personal experience and my work with In-Law Boundaries, I've learned several crucial lessons about navigating difficult family dynamics. 1. You're not crazy. The subtle manipulation and passive-aggressive behavior common in toxic in-law relationships can make you question your sanity. Trust your instincts. 2. It's not about you. Toxic in-laws' behavior usually stems from their own insecurities and issues. You're just a convenient target. 3. Your spouse is key. Success in managing difficult in-laws depends largely on having your spouse's support and understanding. 4. Boundaries are essential. Clear, consistent boundaries are not mean or selfish. They're necessary for healthy relationships. 5. You have options. Whether you choose to maintain limited contact or go completely no contact, you have the right to protect your peace. Today, In-Law Boundaries helps thousands of women worldwide. We've expanded our services to include online courses on boundary setting, a podcast featuring expert interviews and success stories, regional support group chapters, annual conferences for members to connect and learn, resources in multiple languages. One of our most successful initiatives is the Emergency Response Team, a network of professionals who can provide immediate support when women face crisis situations with their in-laws. This team includes therapists, lawyers, and certified mediators who understand the unique challenges of toxic family dynamics. The most rewarding aspect of this work is seeing how setting boundaries creates positive change beyond individual families. Women who find their voice through our program often become advocates for others. They return to their communities empowered to help other women facing similar challenges. We've seen mothers teach their sons about healthy relationships, breaking generational patterns of toxic family dynamics. We've watched wives support other wives, creating networks of understanding and strength. Most importantly, we've witnessed the next generation growing up with better models of family relationships. As I write this, sitting in my peaceful home office while my children play in the next room, I think about that Sunday dinner 5 years ago. The words that were meant to break me instead became the catalyst for change, not just in my life, but in the lives of countless others. Eleanor and Catherine still attend family functions, but their power to hurt me is gone. In fact, I feel a strange kind of gratitude toward them. Without their toxic behavior, I might never have found my purpose in helping other women navigate similar situations. David has become an advocate in his own right, speaking at our conferences about the importance of spouses supporting their partners against toxic family dynamics. Our children are growing up understanding that love doesn't mean tolerating mistreatment, and that family relationships should be based on mutual respect, not control. To every woman struggling with toxic in-laws, know this: you are not alone. You are not wrong for wanting respect and boundaries. You are not responsible for managing other people's emotions or maintaining family harmony at the cost of your own well-being. Change is possible, but it starts with believing that you deserve better. Whether you're just beginning to recognize the toxic patterns in your relationship with your in-laws, or you're already on the path to setting boundaries, there is support available. Remember, your feelings are valid. You have the right to set boundaries. You deserve respect and consideration. You are not responsible for other people's reactions to your boundaries. You can create positive change in your family dynamics. Our goal is to create a world where toxic family dynamics are recognized and addressed early, where boundaries are respected, and where every person has the support they need to maintain healthy relationships with their extended family. Last month, at our annual conference, a woman approached me after my keynote speech. She had tears in her eyes as she shared how our program had helped her find the courage to stand up to her controlling in-laws. "I finally feel like I can breathe," she said, "like I can be myself in my own home." Her words reminded me of my own journey, of the woman I was 5 years ago, sitting at that dining room table, feeling small and powerless. If I could talk to that version of myself, I would tell her that the path ahead would be challenging but worth every step.